Well, hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Ascension Playground. This is your friend Ursi. Okay, so this message is a gratitude gift going back because I made the unfortunate mistake of confusing two stars in the heavens. And sometimes it's just learning the language of the stars and their names. So I made the mistake of Algorab, all right, and Algol. I got my two owls mixed up. So this is a gift going into the YouTube channel to share with you all. I will also just offer there's many fish in the heavens. So sometimes we get Pisces constellation mixed up with the southern fish, Piscis austrinus. There's many tails in the stars as well, like the word Deneb means tail. So there's the goat's tail, there's the lion's tail, and then there's tail of the swan. That would be Tail. So I got my owls mixed up, Algorab and Algol. So let me share a little bit more because I went, oops, I did make a mistake. Because when you have these connections to your natal chart, it does make a difference on the story. Okay, so this is Algol. So if you're able to figure out how to get your free astrology chart with the galactic aspects, especially conjunctions, using Julia Balaz's calculator. Here's a picture that I created, actually working within the class. A lot of times, one person like Crystal and Aria, and then Ursula, we would just start image sharing. And so sometimes I got inspired. Oh, and Anne Marie. So this is basically my own chart that I've pulled together. So it's a very easy one. If you Google image Algol, you'll find that it is Beta Perseus. So the star Algol is in the constellation of Perseus. Okay. So oftentimes, as we learn about the heavenly stars and what energetic um, gift or challenge we receive from the star at the moment of our birth, how that's played out in your lifetime. All right. So when we see a conjunction to Algol, there is this propensity for strong and intense female passion. You can be a male with strong Algol in your chart. Okay. So what is it? It is the female version. Here's Kundalini of the male and female energetics, right? Rising up within us. This is pointing specifically to the head of Medusa. So it's that moment after Perseus slays Medusa and is carrying her head throughout the heavens. So, and sometimes there are these words around focused energy, direct and penetrating action. It is the female archetype of, at times, ruthlessness. Okay, depending on where it shows up in your chart. I've created another image. Let's see how I can do this. This is my first time sharing on Canva. Here we go. Perseus traits. So if you have any of the stars of Perseus, learning where they land in the constellation is one meaning. But the overall feeling for Perseus, you know, this is some language that one of my classmates created. I believe this was Crystal, and it does seem to be ringing true in some cases. So I'm going to share that. Thank you, Crystal. You'll find her as a quantum soul guidance practitioner. If you scroll down to the very bottom, she's the first one to be certified in our course. Here we go. I found this great image too. Again, Google imaging. The other star working within the Perseus constellation that is currently on Julia's calculator is Capulus. So Capulus is the star holding the sword. All right. It represents male passionate energy, the one that will slay the monster. So if you have Capulus and Algol in your natal chart, that could be a marker, could be when you look at the whole of it, for this ability, the one that's going to go out and make things happen. And so, really holding gently those times where ruthlessness or action before thoughtfulness comes in. So, Perseus has borrowed, the winged sandals, the sword, and there's actually a shield as well. I believe from Mercury and Apollo. So yeah, when I see the Perseus constellation in someone's natal chart, I would say, wow, what help did you receive along the way? To go out and be that tip of the arrow when we need a warrior to go forward, whether it's working with masculine or feminine energy, Capulus and Algol. Stop sharing. So I'm going to bring on Algorab next because I got my alls mixed up. But again, when you work with the stars, try not to read it so particularly literally. I know on astrologyking.com, sometimes you can get this idea of the energy of Saturn and Mars, or there's some ancient ways of seeing the stars, but now in 2025, I would say use your intuitive radar to see what you want to hold and what wants to be let go. All right. So we don't read these literally, it's much more energetically, metaphorically, and looking at the whole of someone's life. Let me pause for a minute and bring in Algorab, who actually is in the constellation of the Crow. So here we are, Corvus constellation, the Crow energy, the fixed star Algorab. So I don't know how I got Algol and Algorab mixed up, but maybe a little rusty. Anyway, this particular star, this fixed star in the heavens, if you're working again on the calculator and you see Algorab in your natal chart or a loved one's natal chart, for me, it is this idea of the wings of the raven. So when you think of the raven, and yeah, of course, you think of Edgar Allan Poe and the raven slash crow. So I know they're different species, raven and crow, but sometimes they're used interchangeably, but I do know there's a difference. So one story is it's the wings of the raven for the constellation, but Corvus the Crow is a small constellation. It sits on the back of the water snake called Hydra. And Hydra, the water snake, is the largest constellation in our heavens. It goes way back. And in Asian mythology, when they looked up at the stars, they thought that as a soul died, when you die, you return into the belly of the snake of Hydra. And when it's time to be reborn, you are created as, out the other end as an egg, and you receive the next lifetime. So Hydra is very ancient. Corvus, who sits on its back. There's also a cup, a holy grail that sits on the back of the beautiful Hydra. For the mythology and the story of this constellation, we see that it was Apollo's sacred bird. And there's a story that goes with Algorab and the whole constellation. Basically, it's this idea of, hey, Crow, I sent you off to go get wine. Where's the wine for the party? And the crow instead stopped to eat grapes and made up an excuse and blamed someone else. And so the crow is sometimes looked at as trickery and not saying truth in the moment. That's kind of the lower end. Every star has its, you know, positive and its not so positive challenges. So we hold the energetic of yin and yang, the light and the dark of each of the fixed stars. Algorab is one of the 15 Bohemian stars. And when we see that word Bohemian star, It means it's one of the oldest stars that we've been working with here in our human history. I created the slide again as a composite of Google imaging and reading, like Astrology King and AstroSeek, and anywhere I could find the myth and the stories of the stars. So, some of the auspicious thoughts working with the star in your natal chart might be: do you receive messages, especially at night? Are you attuned to the evening, to the dark and the wisdom? So some of the stories of the stars is working with this idea of crow magic. It's also a possible star that calls in the shaman, the one that works with um, travel and messages of the night. Okay, what else do I have for you? This is just a little taste test. When I do readings, which are far and few between now that I'm really focused on teaching more than one-on-one um, sessions, this is an aspect of Corvus traits. Again, credit to Crystal in our course, offering us some broader thoughts on the constellation. Here we see Algorab in Corvus constellation, but you see there's other stars, and these other stars are not in the calculator, but they could have a very strong um, aspect in your natal chart if you chose to find out what their astrological positioning is. All right, so you can see here what Crystal has created: a natural ability to access the Akashic records. If you don't have Algorab strongly highlighted in your natal chart, it doesn't mean that you don't have natural access to the records. It's just one of many potential aspects in a natal chart. So again, we're working with the star stories. Here I've got the picture of, here's the crow sitting on the large Hydra water snake. And here's this other chalice, this beautiful cup sitting also on the snake. So I invite you, let me stop sharing. I invite you to, if you're interested in the stories of the stars, Google search books on this or websites. You'll be guided with your team in 2025, especially if you take time to tune into the strongest natal star family soul connections that you carry. So I want to say thank you to Jennifer for pointing out that I got my Algorab and Algol a little confused. So hope this little video share helps. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you soon on the Ascension Playground. Bye for now.